that's just the reality of it. I mean, a lot of people out today say Alzheimer's is type 3 diabetes now. You probably heard that, right, Len?
The way we eat is a byproduct of our discipline, and our discipline is a byproduct of our personal development.
Welcome to the Family Office, planning for the people who matter most.
I want to transition into one of our big topics, which was health, that we wanted to talk about today, specifically when it regards to Alzheimer's disease and the different lifestyle hacks to decrease your chances of getting it, because it's a big deal. And I know it's a really big deal in your area and what you do professionally for clients. And it's also a big deal for me in regards to stuff that's come up. But having your health really is an important thing if you're going to not just be an entrepreneur and run high performance, but if you plan on being a high value man or a high value husband or a high value father, a high value business partner, anybody that's you're going to perform at a max high level every single day, notwithstanding obviously stuff that's out of your control that you may or may not have. Just as an example, I just turned 44 and I don't feel like I'm not 20 yet. I still get up in the morning and I still go to bed at night and I feel like I'm 20. Outside of a little bit of tennis elbow that I get here every now and then, and my knee is a little tight, to me, I still feel 20 and I've prioritized that health. And I know we talk a lot about that, but Alzheimer's, why is it a big deal, Len? Why are we talking about it? Why is it so huge and how is it preventable? I have my stuff I think I'm going to add to it, but you have a real big handle on this, I think. Tell me, because it's huge. And my dad's dad died of dementia. It took him 2 years. So he went from 78 to 16, like backwards, right? And over 2 years. So what is going on with it from your perspective, and why should you be thinking about it, and what's the enemy for you and what you've heard?
Yeah, first I'll start off because it really impacted me personally, because my grandmother was living with us. And so what happened is my grandmother's husband passed away, and eventually she had to move in with my father, and I was living with him at the time. And so one day, what she would do is she would make me breakfast on Saturdays. And so it was me and then my other two brothers that were part of the family by marriage. And so one Saturday I wake up and I don't smell any eggs and I don't smell any bacon and I don't smell any oatmeal or anything like that. So I walk into the kitchen and grandma's not in the kitchen. So I was thinking, okay, surely she must be in her room. She's not in her room. So I walk into the bathroom. She's not there. So I walk upstairs and I say, hey, Dad, where's grandma? He's like, what do you mean, where's grandma? I said, she's not here. So we walk out in the backyard. She's not there, not in the front yard. So long story short, we get in the car and we start driving all day, all night. We cannot find her. So the following day, he calls the police department and he files a missing persons report. And they said, you know what? She'll probably turn up. So we start walking around the neighborhood. Nobody sees her. Another day goes by. So now it's 2 days, Chris.
How old are you at the time?
I was 18 years old at the time. And so the third day, he gets a phone call from the police station, and I'm thinking, oh gosh, what's going on? And then they described her, and sure enough, it was her. She was 5 miles away, and she was dehydrated. She was disoriented. And what ended up happening is we took her to the doctor, and she was diagnosed with Alzheimer's. And my dad, because he had to work and we were in school and we weren't old enough to take care of her, he had to put her in a memory care facility. And 6 months later, she died. And so Alzheimer's is very personal to me. And because we've learned so much from then till now, had I known what I know now, what we would have done is we would have gotten her somebody in the home care industry to come in and provide care while my dad went to work and I was in school. But also we would have learned more. We would know more about just lifestyle habits and things like that. And so what I realized in the research that I've done over the years is that there's a lot to do with lifestyle that impacts one's likelihood or lack thereof of getting Alzheimer's. And I know that you and I have talked about that a lot, but you know, when you look on, certainly I'm not a doctor or anything like that, but I've definitely done my research. And what I've learned is what happens is there's plaque that builds up between these two endings in your brain called synapses. And there's a little space in between those synapses where your brain develops. And there's another part of your brain called the hippocampus where new ideas and new memories start to form. So what ends up happening with Alzheimer's is because people have these you talked about your grandpa going from his age back to 16. And the reason why is because as their hippocampus starts to get eaten up by Alzheimer's and as it starts to spread with this plaque, all of those new memories are the first ones to go. And so what we have to do if we want to prevent it is to find different neural pathways. But the biggest thing with Alzheimer's is prevention. And so before I go into my whole long diatribe about what those preventative techniques are, I wanted you to talk a little bit about how you feel about Alzheimer's, because I know that it's something that you've thought a lot about, because obviously you and I don't want to get it. And we also want to share with other people what they can do to prevent it, at least to the best degree, from happening in the first place.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, to me, fortunately, we're in a world now today where we have the internet, right? I mean, the internet is a monstrosity in itself for all kinds of different reasons. But at the end of the day, you and I live in an area where we can so easily grab information and get any piece of information we want. And now we have an AI agent that can curate and grab that information in lightning speed fast for us, comparisons and analysis. But at the same time, at the end of the day, if for some reason we're human beings, we can read it here, but unless somebody actually tells us, I guess that's why influencers are so important, because if an influencer says it, you move. And when an influencer doesn't do it, you don't move. Interestingly enough, I'm rereading right now, and we're going to talk about this, about personal development. But interestingly enough, I am rereading all of Robert Greene's books right now. And he's got a big social media presence now. He's on YouTube a lot. I didn't know he did this. But
I'm really glad to hear that, because I know that he had a stroke.
He had a health. Yeah, exactly. He had some health issues. And if you actually go back and look at some videos he did a few months ago, he looks a little, you could tell, he looks a little fragile, right? Mm-hmm. But now he's looking better now. But I'm actually rereading, I just finished 48 Laws of Power. I'm rereading Laws of Human Nature. I'm going to get to Arts of Seduction, and then I'm going to get to Mastery. And I'm rereading that, but I wish someone would have came and told me these things when I was 18, 20.
Books, yes.
I wish someone would have came to me and told me about diabetes and Alzheimer's and how that's related, because it took the internet to get that information to me. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like, you and I could not have opened an encyclopedia 20 years ago, and maybe the studies weren't even there maybe 20 years ago. So I don't know. We could certainly ask. And somebody said, hey, by the way, these habits are going to compound in your life, and they're going to lead to Alzheimer's, dementias. They're going to lead to this stuff. And I don't know about you, Len, but I wake up every single day, and I have a very healthy, I want to stress, a very healthy level of paranoia. Right? Only the paranoid is survive, right? If you've ever read that book. Mm-hmm. I have a very healthy level of paranoia about cardiovascular health, brain health, and metabolic health as a whole. I don't want to get into my older years and have a memory problem or a mental issue because I didn't do the compounding things here now. So I watched my grandfather go through it. I watched brain fog with my mom. Fortunately, my mom's 78. She's been a type 2 diabetic since 45. Fortunately, she doesn't have any of that yet. But still, you look at her and go, she's not as sharp as other 78-year-olds, right? And then you see the correlation and the difference between what makes this 78-year-old sharp versus this 78-year-old sharp. And I know some genetics are there, but at the same time, there's a big, overwhelming body of evidence now that 80% of this could be done with lifestyle changes. And we can talk about that. But it's huge for me because I watched my grandfather go through it. I don't want to go through that. Mm-hmm. I don't want my kids to have to see me do that. Right? Yes. So I'm going to do everything I can to see my grandkids and be healthy and productive at that age. There's no reason why.
Yep.
In my mind, unless something happens out of my control.
I agree with that. And I think traditionally, Western medicine has said, hey, the way to prevent certain types of diseases is when you start to see the manifestation of that disease. Here are X, Y, and Z medications to be able to alleviate or you know, decrease the impacts of that illness. And we are starting to learn that prevention and lifestyle is the better way to go about it. And so one is exercising. You and I have talked about exercising extensively. And for me, walking is my way of getting out, getting some vitamin D and exercising and making sure that my heart is getting, a certain rate per minute. I want to make sure that my heart rate is getting above 135 beats per minute. And I want to make sure that I'm sustaining that and making sure that I'm getting in my 10,000 steps. That's one of the things that I do to prevent Alzheimer's. The other one you talked about, which is you talked about having a Mediterranean diet and making sure that you're eating whole foods and making sure that the things that you put in your body isn't plaque creating. So, for those of you that are saying, okay, well, what's out there that I can eat? Just think about the rainbow of foods. So think about your fish, where that's, you've got your pink salmon, which is high in omega oils and high in the good types of fat. Think about other types of fats that's good for you, like avocados. That's good types of fat that you can put in your body. Olive oil, when you cook with that, because at certain temperatures, when you use different types of vegetable oil, it becomes rancid, or that's just a fancy word for, it starts to burn and the molecules in the oil start to break down and they cause inflammation in your body. So when you're eating and you're cooking with oil, it's not good to deep fry, but when you fry with olive oil, it's good for you. And so you want to do that. You want to make sure that you're eating nuts that's also high in fats. And so before, when we were growing up, fats was like a taboo word. But the reality is that your body has two forms of energy. When you eat stuff, it converts into energy in two different ways, either through carbohydrates or through fats. And so when we're talking about energy through fats, we're talking about the good types of fats. So make sure that you're eating well. Other types of foods that are good are your berries. So like your raspberries, your strawberries, your blueberries, those deep red berries are great. And then also leafy green vegetables. Make sure that you're eating that. And yes, sometimes we grow up not liking leafy greens. I love leafy greens because I look at it as my medicine now. And so I'm finding ways to take my spinach and put it with blueberry and put it with some tangerines and put some walnuts in it and dash just a little bit of dressing on it. I've got a nice salad. And you want to add some protein, put some nice chicken that's, low in fat. So like your chicken breast and things like that. So good types of food to eat. And so other things that you can do to relieve or reduce the likelihood for Alzheimer's is make sure that you're having a lifestyle where you're not overstressing. Because let me tell you, especially for those of you that are entrepreneurs, there will be times where you will wake up and it's dark and you will go to sleep and it's dark and you didn't make one dime. And you've made 100 phone calls and you've gotten 80 no's and all of the rejection comes your way and you start to call yourself a failure and a loser. And then your body has a reaction to that and it creates cortisol. And when that cortisol starts to create in your bodies, that releases toxic chemicals into your body, which starts to impact your overall health. Because why? Your tissues become inflamed, your arteries become inflamed. And if stress is a lifestyle, then cortisol in your blood is a lifestyle. And over time, that has an effect, a negative effect, which begins to break you down. And so while you may stress today and you may not feel the impact of it, but a lifestyle of stress will absolutely kill you over time. So make sure that you're doing that. And I think, Chris, as we delve into the conversation about personal development, how we react and respond to stress is definitely something I think we should talk about. So if I forget about that, definitely remind me. But that's huge. That's a big factor. And then finally, when we're talking about reducing the impacts of Alzheimer's, is just making sure that you have overall, good relationships and social interactions, because as humans, we're social animals. And so if you isolate yourself too much, then depression starts to kick in and you start to feel bad. And then all of those other factors, you start to eat because you're not feeling good, and all of the things that happen with the stress levels start to grow. So those are just a couple of things that I wanted to touch on lifestyle wise, because in my field of home care, my goal is to, if you're a professional that has an aging parent, we want to put you in a position where you don't need our services. We'd prefer that your parents stay healthy and not need our services. But at the same time, we also understand that there's a chance that the lifestyle may not lend itself, and that's where we come in, but we prefer for you not to need it. So I wanted to go ahead and just touch on those points of view.
And that's everything is there. You could go research all that and you can go look it up. And you could hear 1,000, exaggeration, 1,000, but you could hear 1,000 YouTube influencers, dietitians, all of them. I don't want to mention any names, but there's a ton of out there that will corroborate, what you just said: leafy greens, blueberries, blackberries, strawberries, all of this stuff, the leafy greens, everything. But what's most important about all of that to me is, you can hear all that stuff and, oh, that's great, right? But the problem is that the rubber meeting the road is actually developing the discipline, like you said, to actually go out and do that and figure it out. Like you mentioned, like, oh, I'm exercising, I want to make sure that my heart rate is right. Most people don't even know how to get their target heart rate, and you could Google that, right? What is it? It's 220 minus your age, get your max heart rate, and then you could vary it by, small, medium, light, or intermediate, or stressed out, or whatever level of hit you're going to do, and you could target train your heart, right? And these are just things that you took it upon yourself to actually go out and research and actually go and do. That is the point of self-development and personal development, right? And that, because if you don't, what was it? Ray Dalio was saying it. He was saying something about this the other day on a talk where he was saying, by the time you're 40 or 50, you start to see the compounding effect of the decisions you made when you're 20 and 30, right? So, right? And you start to realize in your 40s or your 50s, it's usually in your 40s or 50s, that's when, as men, you actually really start to realize the effect of infinite success starts to go away, or infinite opportunity starts to go away, where all of a sudden you start to go, wait a minute, I really don't have all the time. I really don't have all the opportunities. Like, this is crazy, right? And if you don't prioritize how sharp this thing is right up here, I mean, in Mediterranean diet, proven always Mediterranean diet that's organic, non-GMO, washed, clean Mediterranean diet, clean paleo Mediterranean diet, like as clean as you can get it. I know it's very difficult in today's world, but you can get it pretty damn clean, is the best way to do it, because you're prioritizing brain health, gut health, and heart health. And by moving, like you said, and getting target heart rate, you're prioritizing your legs, protect your liver, protect your lungs, protect your legs. Because if you can't move your legs, you're toast. If you can't breathe, you're toast. And if your gut, your liver doesn't work right, you are toast. Mm-hmm. Your quality of life sucks and your life expectancy sucks. And that's just the reality of it. I mean, a lot of people out today say Alzheimer's is type 3 diabetes now. You probably heard that, right, Len? You have type 1 diabetes, which is hereditary, right? You're born with it. Type 2, which is induced, and type 3, which is considered Alzheimer's. It's disease. It's autoimmune disease or over-sugared of the brain. That's what creates that plaquing in the synapses. Is what it's thought now is the sugar, the overabundance of insulin resistance and sugar in your bloodstream creates that much like that also creates the plaquing in your arteries from the artery scarring, right? From high blood pressure and from the overabundance of insulin, that also creates that plaquing in the synapses connection. So it's now said and thought. So I think for me, personal development and understanding why you want to be healthy and actually prioritizing it and actually creating a risk or a reward system for yourself personally, that's how somebody makes a plan and turns the corner. Because people are only motivated by fear or inspiration. And I hope you're inspired when you see this. And I'm proving. I don't care what anybody says to me. as we get more advanced here and we understand this technology and understand these things, I have no problem sharing my lab reports with the world. I'll black my names out and I'll show it. I'll say, prove me wrong. I will show you a before and an after, because like I tell everybody, I say, this is an experiment on me. And I've experimented on it. And for all the people out there who want to say anything, and I know everybody's body's different, but by and large, if you run and you feel into that 80% mark, like most people do, I got the data to prove that it works. And you can't tell me. That's why I walk into a doctor's office now, any doctor's office, with confidence, because it's like, oh, your LDL is high. You don't know the difference between run an advanced LDL panel. You're like, oh, this is, you just don't understand unless you do the data and you look at the numbers and you go, damn, this is freaking crazy. You can actually reverse adverse health conditions and you can actually get your body to feel like you're 20. You can. It's amazing what it can do. But self-development is the key to it, I think, and having that personal development plan and actually taking those steps. So if you want to take some time on that, Len, because you're pretty big on that, and I could give in my perspective as well, unless you didn't forget about what you were going to say about something. You said, don't forget. I want to tell you, don't forget.
No, it was exactly that. It's tying in Alzheimer's and personal development.
Yes.
Because the idea is that the way we eat is a byproduct of our discipline, and our discipline is a byproduct of our personal development. And when we make a connection between understanding that how we do anything is how we do everything, everything begins to change. And so as it relates to personal development, I always grew up with this idea that, hey, I'm just going to school so I can get a good grade, but I've never made the connection between what were the different specific activities that I was creating that made me a better human being, that made me a more disciplined human being. And so now I understand that as a human, I'm not just about learning about concepts to get a good grade. I'm a lifelong learner. I am a voracious reader. So typically, between listening to audio books and reading physical books, as you can probably see in the back, I typically read about 4 books a month. Sometimes if I'm really, really busy, it'll be 1 or 2, but on average, I'm reading somewhere between 2 to 4 books a month. And so even if I get one tangible nugget from an entire book, I don't consider that a waste of time, because I look at somebody taking 10, 20, 30 years of their knowledge and condensing that into a week's worth of time for me. And so if I can pick up a nugget and apply that nugget in my life, that's amazing, because, the idea of each one teach one, or the idea of really just taking concepts and knowledge and really having it, it's not important when you just have knowledge. It's the applied knowledge that makes the difference. And so I want to acquire knowledge so I can apply it to my life, to make it better for me, to make it better for my family, to make it better for my employees, to make it better for the people that I associate with. And so the acquisition of knowledge is not just personal as well. I know there's a ripple effect of me acquiring that information, because it can help me help others. And I think if you think about it, that's probably at the foundation of our show here, is that we're not YouTubers. We're not media people. We're just 2 entrepreneurs that want to share information. And if we share enough, we hope that we continue to get better at this craft and share enough information for you to glean from our experience, so you can cut down your learning time. For me, I'll speak for myself. It took me quite a long time to experience success as an entrepreneur. I could have cut that down had I understood the value of personal development. And so I look at personal development from a spiritual standpoint. So making sure that I'm reading my word and getting a better understanding of my beliefs, and also from a standpoint of business. And so my business isn't just a byproduct of the day-to-day activity I do. It's understanding systems and operations and personnel and all of those things together. That's also part of personal development. But also it's understanding having social social capital and being able to interact with people around me. Because if you're a jerk all the time, and maybe you're a boss and maybe you have lots of employees, if you're a jerk all the time, and you don't necessarily have to care about people liking you, but you definitely want people to respect you. And the way that you get respect from other people is to give respect. And so I think that also falls in line with personal development. I was watching a podcast, and I'll turn it over to you after this. I was watching a podcast, and there was a gentleman talking about a mentor that he worked with, and he said this mentor was very difficult to work with, but he learned a couple of things. He learned that you have to be able to separate the noise from being targeted on the specific objective. And when you can target on that specific objective while at the same time eliminating all of the distractions around you, you have the ability to get more done in that 24-hour period of the day. And it takes real discipline not to allow every notification on your phone, every text you receive, every email you get to set you on a different path away from your target objective. So eliminate the distractions, eliminate the noise, stay focused. And part of the discipline that you attain through personal development helps you get there.
I couldn't have said it any better. To me, it's interesting when you say the noise, right? Because I remember I was giving a training one time. It was like 2016. I just read a book by Grant Cardone. It was Sell or Be Sold, I think, is the name of it. And he was talking about the ability. Oh my God, right? And he was talking about the ability to rise above the noise, right? And then you hear the difference between signal and noise in your life and how to apply signal and noise. And if you haven't understood, or what that means is that signal, the amount of signal you have basically means the amount of attention, no matter what. It's unadulterated attention and effort towards one specific topic or goal. So for example, if you're 100% signal in your work, that means you do nothing else except for work, right? Mm-hmm. It's that totalitarian, right? So recently, Kevin O'Leary was giving a comparison between Steve Jobs and Elon Musk. And he was saying, hey, I used to work for Steve Jobs. And he was saying how Steve Jobs was 80% signal and 20% noise, right? So 80% of his life was Apple and work and nothing else, right? And then he was saying, Elon Musk, by contrast, is 100% signal. I've never met anybody like that, right? So obviously he's an outlier, right? If right? So not everyone's going to be like that. But you have to actually have a very concentrated, focused, unadulterated effort on a self-development plan or something you're going to change in your life. And for me, it's like what I alluded to earlier right now, in self-development for me and in what I'm doing right now is I am very much so in a formulation and a strategy, very heavy in a strategy and formulation phase right now in what I'm doing in some businesses and what I'm doing in transitions in life. Not just for me, and of course we've talked about this before, but self-development and leading in both personal, business, spiritually, but I'm making a lot of those changes right now. And that's exactly why I'm going back and rereading a lot of Robert Greene's books and a lot of books on strategy and getting better at strategy and plans and implementation and execution, because I want to be very, very good at that by the time Q4, Q1 rolls around. See, what I'm doing today and doing right now is directly going to impact my Q4 and my Q1. When I say Q4, I mean Q4 of this year and Q1 of 2026. And ultimately, it's going to make my life easy come Q2 of 2026 so I can take my kids and my family, because I want to go on vacation next summer for a whole month with my kids somewhere. I want to take my kids somewhere for a whole month. I want to spend a whole month somewhere. That's the purpose and the point behind a self-development plan, because you could do the necessary things you need to do now to create the focus, signal, and effort now to make those changes in your life. So I always like to focus on a specific topic every 90 days. And I like to find as many books and resources as I can on that topic. And I spend the whole 90 days reading nothing and studying nothing but books and resources on that specific topic. And it's a way for me to create 100% signal in my self-development, a specific topic. And I've been doing that, I think all of 2017 and 2018, all I did was I was obsessed with health and research and biology and all of these things, because again, we have the blessing of the internet. Leading into that and transitioning into that, current events that's going on right now. There's a lot going on right now. Who'd have thought the Sydney Sweeney thing would be huge between now and the last time we talked, Glenn, when it's massive, right? And somebody showed me an ad of the Cindy Crawford Levi's jeans. It plays the song. Oh, yeah. God, it plays that ad, and Cindy Crawford is basically walking out of the car half naked in the 90s, and no one said anything about that, right? Mm-hmm. And an American Apparel ad I just seen. You don't remember American Apparel, right? Oh, yeah. There's a picture. This is mid-2000s. Right on the cover of the magazine, the girl's sitting there with her legs open, and it says, "We're open now." And it's like, today is like this craziness about Sydney Sweeney. Say what you want to say about it, but I don't want to talk about that today. But leading into it, I think this was a very productive conversation today. I think it was. I think we got a lot covered. I think that we have a lot of questions that are still unanswered. And I think we can go further with it, a few different things, but
I hope that all of you that were watching got value from this, and we're going to continue to get better every single week. We're going to continue to come with more information and more perspective. And so our outcome is to make sure that as you're watching this, that you learn about financial matters, that you learn about healthcare matters, that you learn about health matters, and you get a little smarter from learning about two different opposing viewpoints as it relates to current events. And so with that being said, make sure you like, make sure you comment, make sure you subscribe, and we'll continue to give information and continue to grow. So with that being said, take care, everybody. Until next time.
See ya.
All right. Bye-bye.
Conversation has given you clarity on your next steps. Please share this episode with someone who's walking the same path. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you won't miss future episodes. And remember, planning ahead isn't just prudent, it's an act of care. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time on The Family Office.